The coffee cup exploded across the floor. Amara jumped backwards so fast she nearly fell. Her heart slammed against her ribs. The crash echoed through the small cafe as customers turned to stare. Daniel immediately stood up. Amara! She wasn't looking at the broken cup. She was staring at the envelope sitting beside it. A plain white envelope. No stamp, no address, just 3 handwritten words. I found you. Her hands began shaking instantly. No! Daniel looked from the envelope to her face. What is it? Amara couldn't breathe, because she recognized the handwriting. Adrian. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too crowded, too exposed. Daniel picked up the envelope. Amara, talk to me. Don't touch it. Her voice came out as a whisper. Daniel froze. What? Don't touch it. The color drained from his face. Slowly, he set the envelope back down. The entire cafe disappeared around her. The conversations, the music, the people. Everything faded. Because for 6 months, Adrian had been gone. 6 months, no messages, no calls, no flowers, no photographs, nothing. And now somehow, he knew exactly where she was. If you're already getting chills, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment, "Run!" Amara below because this nightmare is far from over. Daniel guided her outside. The cold air hit her face immediately. Talk to me. Amara stared at the envelope in his hands. That's him. Daniel frowned. Adrian? She nodded. The name alone made her stomach twist. Daniel looked back toward the cafe. Did you see him? No, then how do you know? I know his handwriting. Daniel remained silent. Amara could tell he wanted to ask more questions. The problem was that even after 6 months, talking about Adrian still felt difficult. Embarrassing. Terrifying. Like discussing a nightmare nobody else could see. Daniel gently touched her shoulder. Let's go somewhere else. Amara nodded. The drive home happened mostly in silence. Halfway there, Daniel finally spoke. You never told me everything. Amara looked out the window. I told you enough. No. His voice softened. You told me he stalked you. She swallowed. He did. You told me he threatened you. Yes. But every time you talk about him, you look terrified. Amara closed her eyes. Because he was right. The fear never really left. It simply learned how to hide. 6 months earlier, she had believed relocating would save her. New apartment, new job, new routines, new phone. For a while it worked. The panic attacks stopped. The nightmares became less frequent. She started sleeping again, started smiling again, started living again. Then she met Daniel. Ironically, she met him on one of the worst days of her life. A grocery store, a broken tire, a thunderstorm, and absolutely no patience. Amara had just discovered her tire was flat. Rain poured heavily around her. She stood in the parking lot staring at it. Wonderful. The universe clearly hated her. Then a voice spoke behind her. Looks like you're having a rough day. Amara turned. A tall man stood holding an umbrella. Warm smile, kind eyes. Exactly the type of man she no longer trusted. I'm fine. The answer came immediately. The man smiled. No offense, but your tire disagrees. Amara crossed her arms. I'll call roadside assistance. You could. He pointed toward the tire. Or I could help. No thank you. The smile widened slightly. Fair. Then something unexpected happened. He walked away. No pressure, flow insistence. Just walked away. That alone caught her attention. Most men kept pushing. This one didn't. 10 minutes later, he returned carrying groceries. The tire was still flat. The rain was still falling. Amara was still standing there. He laughed softly. Roadside assistance abandoned you? She sighed. Apparently. Now can I help? For some reason she laughed, and that was how it started. Not romance, not sparks, not destiny. Just a flat tire. After that they kept running into each other. At the same grocery store. The same coffee shop. The same neighborhood. Eventually they exchanged numbers. Then came weeks of casual conversations. Weeks became months. Daniel never rushed anything. Never pushed. Never demanded. When Amara ignored messages because of work, he simply texted, Hope your shift goes well. When she disappeared for hours, he never questioned her. Never accused her. Never guilt-tripped her. The difference between him and Adrian felt enormous, and that scared her. Because she no longer trusted her own judgment. One evening, Daniel finally asked her out. They were sitting outside a small restaurant. The sunset painted the sky orange. Daniel smiled. "I'd like to take you on a proper date," Amara laughed nervously. "No." Daniel blinked. "No? No." He smiled. "Okay." Argument, no pressure, just okay. 3 weeks later, he asked again. Same answer. No. Again. Okay. 3 months passed before she finally agreed. 3 months. Tommy nearly screamed when she found out. 3 months? I was being careful. You were interrogating the poor man. I needed to know. You ran background checks. I did. You searched court records. I did. You practically investigated his ancestors. Amara laughed. I know. Tommy shook her head. After Adrian, I don't blame you. Neither did Daniel. When she eventually explained her past, he simply listened. Really listened. No judgment. No impatience. No attempts to fix everything. Just listening. At the end of the conversation, he said quietly, "I'm sorry that happened to you. That was it. No dramatic speeches. No promises. Just understanding." And somehow that meant more. Months later, they officially started dating. For the first time since Adrian, Amara felt safe. Actually safe. Until today. Until the envelope. Until the handwriting. Until the realization that Adrian might not be gone at all. When they arrived at her apartment, Daniel parked the car and looked at her carefully. "Tell me honestly." Amara swallowed. "What? Do you think he's watching you again?" Her answer came immediately. "Yes." Daniel's face tightened. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Amara's phone vibrated. Both froze. The sound felt like a gunshot. Slowly she looked down. Unknown number. Her blood turned to ice. A message appeared. Only 4 words. "Nice boyfriend, Amara." And beneath it, a photograph. A photograph of Daniel walking into the cafe earlier that morning, taken from across the street. Someone had been watching them the entire time. And suddenly, Amara realized something horrifying. Adrian hadn't just found her. He had found Daniel, too. Amara dropped the phone. It landed on the couch beside her. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The photograph remained on the screen. Daniel entering the cafe, taken recently. Taken secretly. Taken by someone who had been watching them. Daniel slowly picked up the phone. His jaw tightened. "This was today?" Amara nodded. Her throat felt dry. Daniel zoomed in on the image. Nothing stood out. Cars, pedestrians, storefronts, an ordinary photograph. Except it wasn't ordinary, because Daniel had never met Adrian, yet Adrian clearly knew exactly who he was. A terrible thought entered Amara's mind. What if he's been watching us for weeks? Daniel looked up. Neither of them needed to say it aloud. Because it was possible. Very possible. The message itself was terrifying. Not because of what it said. Because of what it didn't say. Adrian wasn't introducing himself. He wasn't announcing his return. He was letting them know he had already been there. Already watching. Already learning. Daniel stood. "I'm calling the police." Amara immediately grabbed his wrist. "No." Daniel frowned. "No, they can't do anything. We don't know that." "Daniel, trust me." Her voice shook. "I've been through this before." Daniel hesitated, then reluctantly sat back down. The next few days became unbearable. Nothing happened. No messages. No calls. No sightings. Nothing. And somehow that was worse. Every vibration of her phone made her jump. Every stranger became suspicious. Every parked vehicle felt threatening. One evening, Tommy came over. The moment she entered, she noticed Amara pacing. "Oh no, what? You're doing the thing again." "What thing?" "The panic pacing." Amara stopped. Tommy walked closer. "He contacted you again?" Amara handed over the phone. Tommy read the message, then read it again. Her face darkened. "He knows about Daniel." "Yes. You need cameras. We have cameras. More cameras." Amara laughed weakly despite herself. Tommy sat beside her. "How's Daniel handling it?" Amara sighed. "Better than me." "That's because Daniel hasn't seen the Adrian version you saw." The room became quiet. Because Tommy was right. Daniel knew the stories. But stories weren't the same as experiencing Adrian. Stories couldn't fully explain the fear, the manipulation, the obsession, the unpredictability. A week passed. Then another. Nothing. The silence slowly became easier to tolerate. Daniel even started joking about it. Maybe he finally got bored. Amara forced a smile. But deep down she didn't believe it. People like Adrian didn't get bored. They waited. The first real attack happened 3 weeks later. Daniel was leaving work when he discovered all four tires on his car had been slashed, every single one. The cuts were deliberate, clean, precise. A note sat beneath the windshield wiper. 3 words, "Leave her alone." Daniel stared at it for a long time, then called Amara. The moment she heard his voice, she knew something was wrong. What happened? Silence. Then, "My tires are gone." Her stomach dropped. What? All 4. Fear surged through her chest. No, and there's a note. Amara closed her eyes. She already knew. She already knew. That night, Daniel finally filed a police report. The officer took photographs, collected evidence, made notes. But nobody seemed hopeful. By the time they got home, both of them felt exhausted. Daniel dropped onto the couch. "This guy is insane." Amara sat beside him. "He'll keep escalating." Daniel looked at her. The fear in her eyes made his chest ache. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Daniel gently squeezed her hand. "We'll figure this out." Amara nodded. But she wasn't convinced. The next attack came 5 days later, and this one nearly destroyed them. It started with an email. A simple email, anonymous sender, no subject line, no explanation, just photographs. Dozens of photographs. Daniel opened them during lunch. At first he frowned, then his face drained of color. Every image showed Amara with another man, holding hands, laughing, kissing. Daniel stared in disbelief, because the photographs looked real, very real. His heart sank. For several seconds he simply stared. Then his phone rang. "Amara," he answered immediately. "Hey, hey." Something in his voice sounded wrong. Amara sat upright. "What happened?" Daniel hesitated. Then, "I got some pictures." The silence that followed felt heavy. "What pictures?" More silence. Then, "Apparently you have another boyfriend." Amara froze. "What?" Within minutes, she was driving to his apartment. The entire journey felt endless. When she arrived, Daniel handed her his phone. The moment she saw the images, she nearly laughed. Not because they were funny, because they were ridiculous. The photos were fake, obviously fake, but disturbingly convincing. Someone had edited her face onto another woman's body. The details were frighteningly good. Daniel studied her carefully. "You didn't do this." It wasn't a question. Amara shook her head. "No, I know." The relief hit her so hard she nearly cried. Because Adrian would have loved this. Loved creating doubt. Loved creating suspicion. Daniel wrapped his arms around her. For several seconds she simply stood there, breathing, trying not to cry. Eventually she whispered, "He's trying to break us." Daniel nodded. "I know." But the attacks didn't stop. They intensified. Anonymous calls, strange vehicles outside Daniel's apartment, emails sent to his employer, fake complaints, fake accusations. Someone even created social media accounts pretending to be Amara. The messages became relentless. Everywhere. Every day. Every week. Until Daniel finally reached a breaking point. One evening, he slammed his laptop shut. "I'm done." Amara looked up. "What?" "I'm done sitting here waiting." His voice carried a frustration she hadn't heard before. "I'm tired of being hunted." Fear immediately gripped her. "Daniel." "No." He stood. "I'm serious. Please don't. He keeps attacking us because nobody is stopping him." Amara's stomach tightened. She already knew where this was heading. "Daniel, I'm going to find him." "No." The answer came instantly. "No." Daniel stared at her. "Why?" "Because that's exactly what he wants." "Amara, no." Tears filled her eyes. "You don't understand." "Then help me understand." Her voice broke. "People who think like Adrian don't follow normal rules." Daniel softened immediately. He walked closer. "I'm not scared of him." Amara looked away. The words made her feel sick, because she remembered saying something similar once, before she truly knew Adrian, before she understood what obsession looked like. Daniel gently touched her shoulder. "I need to do something. You need to stay away from him. He won't stop." "I know." The room fell silent. Neither of them had an answer, because both were right. Staying passive wasn't working. But confronting Adrian felt dangerous. Days later, Daniel made a discovery, and that discovery changed everything. It happened accidentally. A former co-worker of Adrian's responded to one of Daniel's online inquiries. At first, the conversation seemed ordinary. Then the man said something strange. "You're not the first boyfriend who called me." Daniel's blood ran cold. He immediately asked, What do you mean? The response arrived minutes later. There was another woman before. Daniel stared at the screen. His pulse quickened. Another woman. The missing ex, the woman Tommy had uncovered months earlier. Suddenly Daniel realized something. Maybe Adrian wasn't just obsessed. Maybe Adrian had done something much worse. And for the first time, Daniel began wondering whether the missing woman had actually disappeared at all, or whether someone had made her disappear. And if that was true, then Daniel had just stepped into something far more dangerous than either of them imagined. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about the missing woman. For days her photograph stayed in his mind. The smiling face, the harassment complaints, the sudden disappearance. None of it felt right. The more he looked into Adrian's past, the less sense it made. People didn't just vanish. Not completely. Not in a world filled with phones, social media, bank accounts, and digital records. Yet somehow this woman had. And Adrian had been the last person connected to her. Daniel sat at his kitchen table long after midnight, scrolling through old records. His eyes burned. His coffee had gone cold hours earlier. Still, he kept searching. Something was there. He could feel it. The next morning, Amara found him exhausted. "You didn't sleep." Daniel forced a smile. "A little. You look terrible." "Thank you. I'm serious." She sat across from him. The dark circles beneath his eyes immediately worried her. "Tell me what you're doing." Daniel hesitated, then finally turned the laptop around. Amara's stomach dropped. The missing woman's photograph stared back at her. "No," Daniel sighed. "Amara, no." Her voice rose instantly. "We talked about this. I know. You promised me. I know." Anger mixed with fear inside her. "Then why are you investigating him? Because somebody has to." Amara stood abruptly. "Daniel, stop. Listen to me." "No, you listen." Tears filled her eyes. "I already lost a year of my life to this man." Daniel softened immediately. The fear in her face was impossible to ignore. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Daniel reached for her hand. "I'm trying to protect us." The words hurt because she knew he meant them. But protection wasn't what this felt like. It felt like walking directly into danger. That afternoon, Daniel received another message from the former coworker. This one was different. The man wanted to meet in person. Daniel hesitated before agreeing. The meeting took place at a small diner on the edge of town. The coworker arrived looking nervous, very nervous. The first thing he said was, "You should stop digging." Daniel frowned. "Why?" The man glanced around the restaurant, then lowered his voice. "Because Adrian isn't normal." Daniel nearly laughed. "Trust me, I know." "No." The man shook his head. "You don't." Something about his tone made Daniel pay attention. "Tell me." The man swallowed hard. People always thought Adrian was charming. Daniel remained silent, smart, polite, friendly. The man's expression darkened, but every time a relationship ended, something happened. Daniel leaned forward. "What kind of something?" The answer came quietly. "Obsession." A chill ran through him, the man continued. "He'd show up unexpectedly. He'd monitor people. He'd create fake accounts. He'd spend months collecting information." Daniel felt his stomach tighten. Everything matched. Every single detail. Then the coworker said something that made his blood run cold. The missing woman wasn't the first complaint. What? There were others. "How many?" The man hesitated. "I don't know. But I know one thing." "What?" The coworker leaned closer. "Every woman who reported him eventually moved away." The words lingered heavily between them, because that wasn't normal. That wasn't coincidence. That was a pattern. Before leaving, the man handed Daniel a folded piece of paper. "What is this? An address?" Daniel looked down. "What address?" The coworker swallowed. "One Adrian used years ago." Then he stood and left. Daniel stared at the paper long after the man disappeared. Something about the interaction felt wrong, fearful, as if the coworker knew more than he was saying. That evening, Daniel didn't tell Amara about the address. He knew she would try to stop him, and maybe she would be right. But he couldn't ignore it. Not anymore. The next day he drove there. The property sat far outside the city, an isolated house surrounded by trees. Old, quiet, forgotten. Daniel parked a considerable distance away. His pulse quickened. The place looked abandoned, yet something felt off. He couldn't explain it. He remained in the car watching. Minutes passed, then an hour, nothing. Just as he considered leaving, movement caught his eye. A black SUV. Daniel's heart skipped. The vehicle turned into the driveway, and Adrian stepped out. Daniel immediately lowered himself in the seat. His pulse thundered. What was Adrian doing there? The house didn't appear abandoned anymore. Adrian disappeared inside. Daniel grabbed his phone. His first instinct was to call Amara. Instead, he opened the camera. He snapped photographs. The SUV, the house, the license plate, everything. Then he waited. Nearly 40 minutes later, Adrian emerged carrying a cardboard box. Daniel zoomed in. His breath caught. Photographs. The box appeared filled with photographs. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Adrian loaded it into the SUV, then drove away. Daniel remained frozen. A terrible feeling settled over him. Whatever Adrian was hiding, it was here. That night, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about the house. The photographs, the secrecy, the fear on the coworker's face, none of it added up. Around midnight, he made a decision, a terrible decision. One that would change everything. The following morning, he returned. This time, Adrian wasn't there. The property looked empty, silent. Daniel approached cautiously. Every step increased his anxiety. The front door was locked. The windows were covered. Nothing unusual. Until he reached the side of the house. There, partially hidden beneath bushes, stood a small detached shed. Daniel frowned. The structure looked newer than the rest of the property. Much newer. His pulse accelerated. Slowly he approached. The door wasn't locked. The moment he stepped inside, his blood turned to ice. Photographs, thousands of them, covering walls, tables, shelves, boxes, photographs of women, photographs of apartments, photographs of workplaces, photographs of cars, surveillance, years and years of surveillance. Daniel felt sick. Then he saw Amara, dozens of photographs, sleeping, driving, shopping, working, walking, some recent, very recent. His hands trembled. This wasn't obsession. This was something darker, much darker. Then he saw another photograph, the missing woman, pinned directly to the wall, and beneath it, a newspaper clipping. Daniel stepped closer. His heart pounded. The clipping contained information about her disappearance. Across the article, someone had written 3 words in black marker. She betrayed me. Daniel's stomach lurched. For several seconds, he simply stared. Then he heard something, a sound, outside, footsteps. His entire body stiffened. No. The footsteps grew closer. Daniel grabbed his phone immediately. He snapped pictures rapidly. The walls, the photographs, the article, everything. Then his phone vibrated. An incoming call. Amara. The timing nearly made him laugh. His hands shook as he answered. "Hey, Daniel?" Her voice sounded worried. "Where are you?" Daniel glanced toward the door. The footsteps had stopped. Complete silence now. A terrible silence. "Daniel?" He swallowed. "I think I found something." "What?" "I'll explain later." "Later when?" His eyes remained fixed on the door. "An hour. Daniel, what's going on?" Before he could answer, a shadow appeared beneath the doorway. Someone was standing outside, watching. Daniel's pulse exploded. "Daniel?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "I have to go." "What?" "I'll call you." Daniel, the line disconnected. For several seconds, he stood completely still. The shadow remained motionless, waiting. Then slowly, the doorknob began to turn. And Daniel realized with horrifying certainty that he wasn't alone anymore. He backed away from the door. His breathing became shallow. The doorknob turned slowly, then stopped. Silence. Complete silence. Every muscle in his body locked. The shadow remained beneath the door. Whoever stood outside wasn't trying to enter anymore. They were waiting, listening. Daniel's heart pounded so hard he could hear it. His phone remained in his trembling hand. "Call the police." The thought came instantly, but another thought followed. If Adrian was outside, would the police arrive in time? The shadow suddenly moved. One step, then another. The footsteps retreated. Daniel remained frozen for several seconds. Then he moved, fast. He rushed toward the back of the shed. There had to be another exit. There wasn't. Just walls, boxes, photographs, evidence. So much evidence. Then his eyes landed on something lying on a nearby table. A folder, thick, heavy. Daniel grabbed it. Inside were printed emails, court documents, photographs, names, dates, victims. His pulse exploded. This wasn't just evidence. This was Adrian's entire history. Years of stalking. Years of obsession. Years of tracking women. Daniel shoved the folder into his backpack, then quickly photographed everything else. The walls, the articles, the documents, the missing woman's photo, everything. His hands moved frantically. Then his phone vibrated. A text message. Unknown number. Daniel's blood turned cold. Slowly he opened it. One sentence appeared. "Looking for me?" His stomach dropped. Another message followed. "You should leave." Daniel immediately ran. He burst out of the shed. The property looked empty. No SUV, no movement. Nothing. He sprinted toward his car. Every instinct screamed danger. Halfway there, his phone rang. "Amara," he answered immediately. "Daniel." Her voice sounded panicked. "Where are you?" "I found evidence." "What evidence?" "Everything." His breathing remained ragged. The women, the surveillance, the missing ex, everything. Silence. Then, "What?" "I'm bringing it to the police." "Where are you?" Daniel reached his vehicle. He jumped inside. "I'll tell you when I'm moving." "Daniel, you're scaring me." Before he could answer, another car suddenly pulled onto the road. Black SUV. Daniel's blood froze. Adrian. The SUV accelerated. Fast. Much too fast. Daniel immediately started his engine. The SUV kept coming. Closer. 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 Then, crash. The impact exploded through his vehicle. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. Daniel's head slammed against the window. Pain shot through his body. His vision blurred. The backpack flew into the passenger's seat. The SUV reversed, then accelerated again. Straight toward him. Oh God! Daniel threw the car into drive. The tires screamed. His vehicle lurched forward. The second collision narrowly missed him. The SUV slammed into a fence instead. Daniel sped away. His entire body shook. His phone remained connected. Amara was screaming. "Daniel, he found me." "What?" "He found me." Tears filled her eyes immediately. "Where are you?" "I don't know." "Daniel, he tried to hit me." The words barely left his mouth. Then the line went dead. The call disconnected. Daniel stared at the screen. No signal. His heart raced. He looked into the rearview mirror. The SUV was gone, for now. That evening, Amara sat beside her phone, waiting. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3, nothing. No calls, no texts, no Daniel. Fear slowly transformed into panic. By midnight, she couldn't sit still anymore. Tommy watched her pace. "You need to call the police." "I already did." "What did they say?" "They can't find him." The words felt unreal. Daniel wasn't answering. His phone was off. Nobody knew where he was. At 2 a.m., there was still nothing. At 4 a.m., there was still nothing. By morning, Daniel had officially become a missing person. The next few days were a nightmare. Searches, interviews, police reports, questions, endless questions. Amara barely slept, barely ate, barely functioned. Every phone call made her jump. Every knock on the door terrified her. Then on the fourth day, something happened. A detective arrived. His expression was grim. "We recovered Daniel's vehicle." Amara's stomach dropped. "Where?" "Outside the city." Her knees nearly gave out. Was he inside? No. Relief hit her instantly, followed immediately by dread. Because if Daniel wasn't in the car, then where was he? The detective continued. "We also found blood. The room spun." Tommy grabbed Amara's arm. "How much blood?" "We don't know yet." The detective hesitated. "Testing is underway." After he left, Amara finally broke, completely. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. "This is my fault." Tommy shook her head immediately. "No, if he never met me. No, he'd be safe. Stop." Tommy knelt beside her. "This is Adrian's fault." But guilt refused to leave, because deep down Amara felt responsible. Daniel entered her life. Then Adrian entered Daniel's life. And now Daniel was gone. That night she received a message. Unknown number. Her pulse skyrocketed. Slowly she opened it. One photograph. Daniel, alive, bound to a chair. Amara screamed. The phone nearly slipped from her hands. Tommy rushed over. "What happened?" Amara couldn't speak. She simply handed her the phone. Tommy's face drained of color. "Oh my God!" Another message appeared. Then another. Then another. Finally, one sentence arrived. "He's learning what happens when people take what's mine." Amara felt physically sick. The room blurred. Her breathing became uneven. Because Daniel wasn't missing. Daniel had been taken, and she knew exactly who had taken him. The police moved immediately after seeing the image. Task forces, investigators, digital tracking, everything. But Adrian had prepared for this. Days passed, still no location, still no Daniel, still no Adrian. Then a breakthrough finally came. The folder Daniel stole from the shed. Police managed to recover the digital files he uploaded before disappearing. And what they discovered shocked everyone. The missing woman wasn't missing, at least not originally. She had been running for years, changing names, changing states, changing jobs, trying to stay alive, trying to escape Adrian. Then 6 months earlier, she vanished completely, this time for real. The evidence suggested Adrian finally found her. The room went silent as investigators reviewed the information. The detective looked directly at Amara. "We believe Daniel discovered something significant." Her throat tightened. "What?" The detective hesitated. "We think Adrian may have escalated from stalking to murder." The words sucked all oxygen from the room. Amara couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't speak. Murder. The possibility suddenly became real, terrifyingly real. And Daniel was currently in Adrian's hands. Later that night, Amara sat alone in her apartment. Exhaustion consumed her. Fear consumed her. Then her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Again. Slowly she answered. Silence greeted her. Then breathing. A man's breathing. Amara froze. "Hello?" More silence. Then a voice. "Daniel." Weak, broken. Barely audible. Amara, tears instantly filled her eyes. "Daniel." His voice trembled. "Don't come looking for me." The line crackled. Then another voice entered. A voice she knew immediately. Adrian. Calm. Smiling. Dangerous. "Hello, Amara." Her blood ran cold. Adrian chuckled softly. "I told you before." She couldn't speak. Her body refused. Then Adrian continued. "You never listen." A door slammed somewhere in the background. Daniel groaned in pain. Amara burst into tears. "Please." The word escaped her before she could stop it. "Please let him go." Adrian laughed. A slow, terrifying laugh. Then he said 6 words that made her heart stop. "You'll see him very soon." The call disconnected. And when investigators traced the signal minutes later, the phone was already gone. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment part 3 below because Amara's nightmare is only beginning. Daniel is alive. Adrian is more dangerous than ever, and in part 3, the hunt for both men will finally begin.